Hello everybody, welcome back once again to the Final Fantasy VIII walkthrough. We're going to do a little bit more of playing card, or we're going to play some more cards, I should say. At the end of the last video, that's kind of what I was doing there, and like I think I mentioned in some of the other videos, it's actually a really great way to power up at the beginning of the game. Do you need to do it? No, but you know, as far as mini games in RPGs that I've ever played, this is one of the more fun. And like I said, you can really get some really good stuff here. Here, I took a little bit of, took a cut there. That was weird. Do I want to play a game of cards? Yes, I do. So this guy in the back has the Quistis card, which I'm going to win right now. And then I've got, I don't know, there's a little more footage here of me, I think, with a pretty good deck of cards for this point. Excuse me, point in the game. Here I'm just trying to figure out what to use. That looks good. Yeah, okay. The Marlboro card is one of the best cards right now. I would say it's on par with. I think there's another one that's got like 2 7s that are closer to. So what I actually usually end up doing here is I'll win the Quistis card here. I believe in this round. And then actually what I like to do, and for quite a while, I will just continue playing specifically this guy, because he's got a lot of the really good cards for this point in the game. But what I'll end up doing is winning 2 more Marlboro cards for a total of 3. And then I'll have the Quistis card as well as the Minimug card. And that's generally how I build my deck from this point on. It's just such a good time to start it, and it's just really easy. So, all right, yeah, this is an easy win. All right, so that's that. And with that all rule in place, we're able to take all of the cards. Now, one of the things that you can do is, and unfortunately, maybe should have mentioned this a little bit earlier, but one of the things that you'll want to do is learn I think it's the card mod or card refinement, something like that. Some card skill with Quetzalcoatl. No, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's the one of the Guardian Forces that you get rid away. And you may have to learn 1 or 2 other abilities first before you can get to that one, but that is what lets you turn these cards into items that are usable for other things. Like you can refine magic out of them, you can refine you know, items that you can then use on your Guardian Forces so that you don't actually even have to use AP to learn the abilities. So it's really neat. You can do, like I said, there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with the card game. And at this point in the game, again, you'll have to go out and fight a bunch of like random battles, and hopefully, actually I think I do that. I'll show you my spot that I use to fight and gain AP at this point in the game. Now, that being said, though, the game handles levels, I guess, in an odd way. And if I remember correctly, all the enemies that you fight are averaged to. It's like averaged to your party level or something like that, or it goes off of like maybe your highest leveled character. It's something like that. So it's an interesting way to handle leveling up. I don't know that I would say that you can really gimp yourself by leveling too much. Like maybe to a certain extent, but yeah, I don't know. That's a tough thing to really make a call on. As long as you kind of know what you're doing, I would almost say, you know, if it's the first time you've ever played the game, maybe don't go crazy with just random encounters until you kind of understand how the game works. But the other thing is, like, even at this point in the game, we'll be able to refine items out of our cards in order to make our weapons better, and that goes a long way. You know, it's difficult to kind of keep up with the times if you're not, you know, upgrading your weapons as well. So that helps as well. And then I guess lastly, it would just be the fact that as you level, you should be gaining AP for your Guardian Forces, and then your Guardian Forces will, you know, as long as you're like junctioning strength and stuff, that helps as well. Because if you just level a ton right at the beginning of the game and then like don't learn any of those abilities that are useful in like helping your character to become more powerful, you know, you'll just artificially inflate the levels of monsters while keeping your character's somewhat underpowered. So again, what you want to do is kind of do all the things that help to develop your characters. It's not just leveling, because frankly leveling doesn't do that much. Here you can see there's all kinds of different weapons that I can actually buy right now. I think Save the Queen might actually be the best. So I know Marlboro Tentacles can be refined from the Marlboro cards themselves. The rest of this stuff I don't remember. Chef's Knife, Star Fragment. Chef Knife comes from the, what are those little guys? Not the Cactars, the Tonberries. And then what was the other one? Star Fragment or something like that? I think that comes from the Iron Giant. So again, if you refine those from the cards that you win, you can make one of Squall's best weapons right at the beginning of the game. That the punishment is really, really good. And then, like I said, Save the Queen. I think that's actually Quistis's best weapon in the entire game. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. I don't actually remember if that's her best one. But all right, so this is where I like to spend a little bit of time leveling. You can see now I've been here a while. My characters have obviously jumped up quite a bit in HP and whatnot. The one thing I do like to do, though, is keep Squall specifically at really low HP. Quistis even a little bit to a certain extent. Here I'm just going to teach Quistis a bunch of different skills for her limit break. The different characters have different limit breaks. Squall's are based off of his weapon. So essentially, really, it boils down to the better your weapon, the better limit breaks you'll have with Squall. In general. Quistis, however, you need to actually use items on her. Because she's got like I think it's considered the blue magic of the series, in that they're typically enemy skills. Like Final Fantasy VII they were just called enemy skills. In earlier renditions of the game, like Final Fantasy 3 or 6, however you want to, whatever you want to call it, it was called blue magic, and Strago used it. So these are generally the same abilities, though. So like Mighty Guard, that was from 7. I think Fire Breath was, Bad Breath was, Aqua Breath, yeah. A lot of these were old skills that you can use again. Degenerators are a really interesting one. I believe that's the one that allows you to reduce the level of your enemies. So that's a very, very interesting skill. She's got a lot of, frankly, they're really great limit breaks. And the funny thing is that the first time I ever played the game, I didn't really think that she was that good, but you know, I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know the usefulness of her limit breaks, but they're great. I mean, she really outclasses a lot of the other characters when it comes to actual limit break power. And then Squall, like I said, his are more based off of his weapon. So as you upgrade weapons, you'll get cooler, whatchamacallits, limit breaks. The interesting thing about this game is it works a little bit different, though, too, than like Final Fantasy VII. So like 7 was you take take damage, and you know, you have a little bar that fills up. Well, this game doesn't have that. There's no limit break bar that fills. It's literally just every time your character gets a turn, there's a chance that they'll be able to use it, and the chance increases based on their HP limit. I think there's like thresholds, like, you know, under 20% you have a really, really good chance of triggering a limit break. Under 5%, and again, don't quote me on these percentages because I just don't remember them right off the top of my head, but generally speaking, the lower your HP is in relation to your maximum HP. That's an important distinction. the more likely it is that you'll trigger that limit break. So if you've got 2,000 HP and you're at 2,000, your chances are not going to be good because you're at 100%. Whereas if you're at, like, you know, we'll say, again, using 2,000 maximum HP, if you're down to 200, well, that means you've only got 10%, or you're at 10% health, and thus your chance to trigger a limit break will be extremely high. The cool thing, or maybe kind of broken, crazy thing about this, is you can actually cancel your turn, or like skip your turn by hitting, you know, whatever it is. If it's triangle, I forget. I'm playing on PlayStation, but you know, you can essentially skip your turn and just keep skipping until your limit break triggers, and then you can hit your limit break. So it's kind of an interesting way of handling the whole limit break system. If you noticed there earlier, I was on the shoreline, and I actually really like to level there. The little fish there, I forget, I think their name is like the Fastidio Callens or something like that. I'm probably not saying that right either, but they're a great way to level up or get a lot of AP super early in the game. You know, there's, I'm sure, other better ways, but before you go here into the fire cave, those are a really good way to get a lot of AP, and I like doing that. You get a little jump on the game, and I feel like it makes things just a little bit easier. All right, so the fire cave here, we've got a time limit, and it's kind of interesting. You don't actually want to just rush through here as fast as possible. You actually want to time it out so that the 10 minutes is up. Now, actually, so you can actually choose. I forgot about that. You can choose the amount of time that you have. I don't remember if it's like a 10-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute deal or what, but I always pick 10 minutes. The fire cave is actually, or fire cavern, I should say, is actually really quick. Now, like I was saying earlier, though, the one thing that you want to do is you want to time it out so that you have 0 seconds on the clock at the end. And so there's kind of a weird reason for that, and that's that for the first bit of time here, sorry, I should say at the beginning of the game here, you're kind of being tested on the different things that you do. And I'll go into that a little bit more. It's broken up into a couple of different phases, and I believe this is technically like phase 1, or the fire cavern is like phase 1. And the goal here to get the maximum amount of points is to just run out the clock, or have as little time on the clock as possible. I don't remember, again, where the thresholds are. Like if you beat Ifrit and, you know, end the dialogue at, you know, a minute left, I don't know what your score is. I really don't care, but the important thing is there's kind of a cheap little trick here that you can do at the end to make sure that you get full all of the points. And that's just when Ifrit, because we're going to be fighting him in a minute here, but after the battle is over, you can just wait while you're naming him and let the clock run out. And it's great because as soon as the dialogue ends, that's when your points are tallied, but you don't get penalized for running over the time if you're in the screen to name Ifrit. So that's probably a long or a overly complicated way of saying when you go to name Ifrit, just wait. You know, if you can watch when you deal the killing blow to Ifrit, see how much time you have left, and then, you know, just make sure that you run out the clock as you're trying to name Ifrit, and you'll get the maximum amount of points for this area. Here, what I'm doing for whatever reason is trying to card the enemies. I don't really remember why I was doing that. It may actually have had something to do with the points as well. Although I thought I just crushed everybody on the way through here. So I don't know. I guess we'll see if I continue that. There was, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know how much you really have to worry about. Yeah, now I'm just killing them again. I don't know how much you have to worry about these points and what it actually does for you. I shouldn't say it. So I know what it actually does is it affects your seed rank, and that's kind of determines the amount of money you get paid. But I don't know. I don't know if it's, you know, worth stressing out too much on. If that's something that's important, you know, to you, and I guess to me at first it was. But there's a lot of really good guides that'll outline exactly what you need to do and when and how the points all break down. I just don't remember those off the top of my head, and I don't know. There's a draw point over there. I thought it was like fire or something like that, and I actually just didn't want to spend the time to go over there, so that's why I left that. Other than that, there just isn't much to do in the fire cavern here, and yeah, I see right here I'm just drawing more magic off of enemies. If you notice here, my HP totals are kind of inflated a bit, and that's because I believe Squall has Shiva equipped, and I think she's got the HP junction ability. I don't remember though right off the top of my head. Like I said, I did spend quite a bit of time farming AP for my Guardian Forces, even at this early point in the game. It's really up to you on whether or not you want to do that, or whether or not you even think that's worthwhile. The crummy thing about farming AP this early is you've only got 2 Guardian Forces, so vitality 40%, okay. So yeah, so those, or my Guardian Forces do have, or I have spent quite a bit of time, if you notice there. I think each of them was like 11 and 12 or something like that. One of the other things that you can do, actually I know with carding enemies and using that card command, that's, by the way, that is an ability learned by Quetzalcoatl as well. The interesting or cool thing about that ability is you'll still get AP after battles, but you won't get EXP. So you don't have to worry about, like, excuse me, overinflating your character levels while you're trying to get AP for your Guardian Forces. So, you know, just keep that in mind. It's one of the cool things about this game, or one of the not well known, or maybe I'm sure it's well known by now. The game has been out, what, 20 years? It's a well-known fact. Yeah, but you can, like I said, you can card the enemies, and thus you won't get experience for your characters, which can keep your levels down, which is nice. Or it's actually a neat thing. It can be a little annoying. The problem with that card command is your success rates are based off of how much HP the enemy has left. So, you know, it can be annoying. Long story short. But, then one other thing you want to do is to just check all the bosses that you fight for magic, because oftentimes a boss will have either like a Guardian Force that you can draw, or just interesting magic that you may not have had access to yet. So I would say, again, and I mentioned this in some of the earlier videos, but I always like to have that draw command on all of my characters, no matter what. So, and that's the reason for that. I'm not sure what I'm trying to do. I might be trying to activate his limit break, but he's got so much health, it's not a great time to try for that. And I guess I'm trying to run out the clock a little bit. Which seems, I don't know. Seems kind of silly, because he needs to get some damage done to him before I can really worry about think about running the clock out. You don't want to have the clock run out while you're still fighting him. That would not be great. Alright, let's keep stocking the gears here. Oh, I guess I'm casting it. Clunk. And yeah, Squall is actually super weak right now, just because I don't have that strength junction ability on him yet. I think it might be on Quistis, maybe. But the cool thing about Ifrit is he actually does have that ability too, so we will be able to use that here in a bit. Oh, tons of AP. And then if you notice there, we got Ifrit's card, which is a very, very powerful card as well. So that's another nice one to add to the to add. So here is what I was talking about earlier. If you notice there, I had something like a minute and a half or so left on the clock when I beat Ifrit. So we're just going to sit here and let the clock artificially run out while we're naming him to get the maximum amount of points for this point. Alright, so actually what I did there was I cut out a ton of the footage there just so that we wouldn't have to sit around at the naming screen for you know, too long. But like I said, if you're trying to get the maximum amount of points there, just pay attention to where you make the, or when you make the kill shot and how much time is left on the clock. And then, you know, again, you can sandbag it too. Like if you've got a minute and a half left on the clock, it's not going to hurt you to wait a full 2 minutes when you name Ifrit. So here's we get a little bit of a tutorial here, I believe, on what is this? Is this elemental or is this the status? This looks like status. No, that is elemental. Yeah, okay. So they're saying that non-elemental spells can't be equipped there, which makes sense. So this is for the attack, and then you've got those little symbols below represent like the defense. So like right now it looks like Squall Conjunction 1 magic to his attack, and then you can pair up multiples to your defense. I don't know that that's actually the case, like right when we get Ifrit. I don't believe he's got the elemental defense junction ability. I guess we're gonna find out, but yeah. So it does it does a fairly good job here of explaining what it means to add, you know, add elements to your defense and attack. To be honest, I really don't like the elemental attack junction ability. Because a lot of times you'll just run into enemies that are able to absorb the different, you know, elements, and thus you'll end up sometimes healing your enemies, so that can be really annoying. Well, I guess that's weird. Huh. It seems weird for me to junction Ifrit to Quistis, but okay, whatever. So yeah, what does he have there? He's got the strength junction, elemental attack junction. Oh, that's inherent. So that's actually really good. And then he actually does have elemental defense junction, but you have to learn that. So it'll take a little bit of time to learn that. And I would argue that that's much more effective than the elemental attack junction ability. And just for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. So like, here's a good example, like with the bomb. You wouldn't want to have the elemental, or you wouldn't want to have fire junctioned to your elemental attack, because you would end up healing this bomb. So, and again, like I said, there's random spots in the game where that can really kind of mess you up or kind of screw you over, because you'll end up, you know, healing enemies. And unfortunately, in the middle of combat, you can't swap those junctions up. So it can be a little annoying. There, if you noticed, I carded him and I got the Krista card. So that's a very interesting card to get from the bomb. But and I don't remember how that works. Like I don't know if it's like random. Sometimes you get better cards or what the deal was. But alright, so what we got here? It seems strange to me that I wouldn't have junctioned my Ifrit to Squall instead, so that he could have the strength junction, because by junctioning a bunch of HP on him and then junctioning strength, I could really boost up Squall's attack and just make him a beast right at the beginning of the game. And for the reasons that I mentioned earlier, by having a really big HP pool, and then junctioning strength as well to his attacks, he'd be able to hit extremely hard and trigger his limit breaks really often. So again, odd to not have, or to not see me pairing that up. That makes a lot of sense, I think, to me right now, but for whatever reason, I've got the HP junction on Quistis right now. So, I don't know. Kind of weird. Maybe I wanted to use her limit break instead a lot. I'm not sure. Maybe that will be... Maybe that question will be answered soon. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm just crazy. Fire. There's fire. Alright, so I guess we'll stop here and draw the fire while we're here. At this point in the game, too, being that I've done so much card playing, I've got the ability to refine a lot of different magic from my cards. And to be honest, like right now, drawing the base spells like Thunder, Ice, and Fire isn't really worth the time. Just because it's easier to just play cards and then win, play cards and win cards and then refine them from the cards at this point. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess I wanted to mess around with Quistis limit breaks, and I guess she does have some good ones for AoEs right now. So, or I should say, multi-target abilities. Like Ultra Waves, for instance. But, yeah, alright, so let's... Yeah, that's a lot of HP. Vitality, Kira, So Kira, I've definitely got those by refining cards. I don't believe there's any other way to get Kira this early on in the game without, refining from cards. So, if that's something that you want to do, if you want to make the game really, really easy, for sure do that. If not, that's cool too. Don't worry about it. The game is easy enough without doing that, but I don't know, for whatever reason, it's one of the things I tend to do at the beginning of the game. So I will say, Quistis makes a really good character there with Degenerator, and actually, no, I think I'm thinking of the wrong ability. There's an ability that'll cut off like half of an enemy's health, and so you can actually pair that up with card. And so actually having the card ability on her is not very wise, because, she needs to use the limit break. So, yeah, to be honest, she shouldn't have that right now. And maybe I just didn't remember that at this point, but actually I suspect that's the case. I probably just was rusty and didn't know what I was doing. And here I am, rusty again, trying to explain myself. Trying to explain my actions. But yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, she makes a really interesting character. I think she's great. I don't really know why I don't always just use her. She's so much better than, gosh, I'd almost argue anybody else. I think you have to haul Squall around with you for most of the game, if not the entire game. I don't remember, but she's phenomenal. She's a really, really great character. I do know though. Just throughout the story, they make you swap in different characters here and there anyway, so that could be why I didn't stick with her in some of my other playthroughs. I know they force other characters with you right away, and I may have just got used to them and then just, didn't bring her back in, but... Excuse me. Alright, so that's pretty much going to be it for this... episode here. Yeah, we're just gonna leave the fire cavern, sorry, and then I think I'm gonna end up saving my game, and we'll pick her up where we left off. But as always, I hope this guide was helpful, and I hope you join me for more videos. Thanks for watching.